Fujifilm JPEGs that wowed me. That was the original idea for this video. I thought I was gonna go and just grab 10 quick JPEGs and just show you how they wowed me, but it turns out that I edit a lot of my JPEGs. So this is gonna be a two-part series. I grabbed some JPEGs that wowed me straight out of camera, no editing. And then in part two, I'm gonna show you how you can edit your JPEGs to make them just a little better. So what I thought was gonna be a quick video of just grabbing some JPEGs to show you, it turns out I discovered something about myself. I like to edit my JPEGs, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video. So make sure to, do all the stuff that every YouTuber makes you do. Okay, this first picture is the other reason I'm making this video. Sometimes some of you contact me that you're not happy with what you're getting out of your camera, and I'm gonna just tell you that the same thing happened to me. When I first got my Fuji Xt20, I wasn't so crazy about the JPEGs I was getting out of the camera. And it took a little while to tweak the shadows and the highlights to get what I really wanted. So if you're not happy with your JPEGs, you're gonna have to try to figure out what you like. And for me, it was coming from this. This is not a Fujifilm JPEG. This is a Canon JPEG. So personally, my style, I'm more drawn to more vibrant colors and more true to life colors like this Canon shot. Okay, the first one here is from a Fujifilm 100S camera. This was shot at f9, and the colors here, this is in Old San Juan in Puerto Rico. And I was wowed by this because of just like the iridescent purple that's coming from the bird, and the colors of the building are like vibrant and true to life. I couldn't tell you the camera settings I had, but I don't really remember tweaking the Fujifilm X100S too much. I just shot everything in Provia and super love the colors that came out of this file. Number two, straight out of camera. This is a Velvia file, no editing whatsoever. This was at a little fall fest, and one of the things the Fujifilm Velvia is great at is skies. It makes the cyan Fujifilm sky a little bit bolder blue, which I love, and it's great with greens. With greens, any kind of foliage, plants, flowers, it looks amazing. So I actually have two of these here to show you straight out of camera. Velvia film simulation. This is the 56mm 1.2, shot at 1.2. And this was shot with the Fujifilm Xt20. Now this next JPEG that wowed me was taken with the Rokinon 12mm f2. And what I loved about this was that with a wide lens, I was able to get beautiful bokeh in the background, and that the little berries here that my daughter picked were so crisp and nice. But the colors this is straight out of camera. Again, probably Velvia film simulation. Now all the JPEGs that wowed me, not all of them are color. And one thing I learned is to tweak my black and whites. And this was taken with the Fujifilm Xt20 and the 27mm 2.8 pancake lens. I know that at this point I had figured out that I didn't want that waxy Fujifilm look, and so by removing the noise reduction setting on the camera, I was able to get like pretty grain. And what I love about this file is how sharp and crisp everything is, but still has a little bit of like a feel to it, a little grain, a little organic feel. And that's the thing, sharper files aren't always better files. Sometimes sharper files have no life and look like high definition 8K video. And sometimes you want your photographs to have a little bit of feel to them. And it's usually that softness and that grain, depending on your lens and your post-processing. But this one is straight out of camera. And I believe it's Acros film simulation with the shadows up maybe +1 because they're not too black. And maybe the highlights up +1. That's my usual go-to. And so I love this picture. The next one straight out of camera was with my Fujifilm Xt20. It was like a foggy sort of morning in, where were we? This was Universal in Florida. And this themed hotel had like 50s cars out there. And I just put a film simulation on there, like tweaked it with classic chrome and added a little color. And so this is straight out of camera JPEG, and it has like a nostalgic grainy feel. And this is one of the JPEGs that wowed me because it looked like an old photograph straight out of camera. You do have to put a little work in to find the look you like. And so this is like classic chrome with like the classic chrome maybe with the shadows up, but the color pumped up. So fun, love it. Okay, this next one I love because of the colors and the punch. And that's one thing you should, you know, decide if you like in your JPEGs is how much crunch. And that's the black levels. So if you raise your shadows, you're gonna get less of that crunch. If you plus your shadows up, you're gonna get a lot of blacks. So this was in Tel Aviv. These flowers were here, and this is the Rokinon 12mm again. But straight out of camera, I love the color of the sky, and I love the color of the flowers, and just, it's great to have a JPEG that's done. This was taken in New York, in Manhattan, and I just love the colors here of the bridge, the buildings in the back, and of course this truck. A lot of trucks in New York have like graffiti on them. I just love the lines here too. But straight out of camera, this guy is super sharp. This was taken with the Xt20. Again, the 27mm 2.8 pancake lens at f9. And sharp, good color, straight out of camera, done. Now, the one thing I know I say these aren't edited, but there is one thing I do. I mostly underexpose my images just slightly, like about a half a stop or so, because I usually want to protect the highlights. And so when my JPEGs come in, I know my exposure bump is always just a little bit. So all of these that are not edited actually have a little bit of exposure to them because I try to protect my highlights in my JPEGs. Here's another one from Tel Aviv. I went to visit my sister and she took me out, and what's great about Tel Aviv and in Israel is you get all these little plates of just like little things you can pick, and just, I am remembering. And so this image wowed me because of, I felt like I was just ready to reach in and grab some more of the food. Now this one I was gonna put in my next video, which is that I edited, because I do use vibrance quite a bit, as you'll see in the next video. But this one I decided to put here. It's the Fuji Xt20 with the 56mm 1.2. We just had a beautiful sunset, and from my window, I just grabbed the camera and just took this shot. And I remember saying, wow, that the colors just, I believe with Provia, maybe +1 on the camera. I can't remember what settings I have, but I just think the colors straight out, these could be enhanced, as you'll see in the next video, but again, they wowed me, the colors. And I think Fujifilm is great when I do any kind of sunrise or sunset shoots. It really is great with those purples and the sky, and that's one thing that wowed me for sure. Okay, this next one was taken with the Fujifilm X-T2 and my favorite lens, do I have a favorite lens? One of my favorite lenses, the 56mm 1.2. Now this one wows me, and the next couple of images wow me because of skin tones. And if you want to get good skin tones from your Fujifilm, stay away from like classic chrome and sepia. You want to use either Ostia. I love using Provia for skin tones, but even Pro Neg Standard, Pro Neg High, those two give you a good starting point for skin tones. And here's my little girl. She's in the bokeh range here. She's a little blurry, but again, the skin tones and the color, this is straight out of camera, no editing. It's always a great starting point. Classic chrome, you know, classic chrome I never touched whatsoever. And I started liking classic chrome once I added some saturation to it. You know, I think straight out of camera classic chrome I didn't really like. I like it for like city and street, but for most stuff I don't really like it. So here I think I boosted the colors 1 or 2, and that brings out some of the green. So this is one of the classic chrome shots that wowed me. This was the X-T2 with the 35mm 1.2. Food, any kind of food colors, they just pop straight out of the Fujifilm JPEGs. You can use Velvia, but I feel like Provia with a +1 or a +2 color gives you that like magazine pop of food. And this was in Spain. These little peppers were so delicious. But this was the X-T2 with the 18 to 55 at 44mm. Now, probably the most wowed I've been by JPEGs are images from the X100. When I had that camera and I borrowed it, this is the, oh my God, this JPEG is 11,648 pixels across. But what was neat, this was Velvia in the X100S, but it didn't have the same look. I feel like it didn't have the same look as the X series cameras. It had a little bit more punch and contrast. It could also be the resolution that helped. But straight at a camera, this is one of those images that I was like wowed by. And they were just so pretty. The colors coming out of the camera was so great. This is a 56mm 1.2. This was a little street scene in New York. And I shot it at ISO 200. And this is the X-T3, which has a little bit more resolution than the X-T2. And but what I liked about it, of course, was the the compression you get from the 56. And just a little scene here, a dog barking. This might have been a nice black and white too. Now, when we went to Maine, I shot some JPEGs by accident widescreen. This is like 16:9 in camera. I've done that a couple of times. And it's another advertisement to shoot RAW with your JPEGs because I was able to get the 4:3 format back instead of having my images stuck in 16:9. But this frog, the greens were exactly what the frog looked like in real life. And this is with no boosting or any kind of editing whatsoever. This is the 35mm f2 with the Fujifilm X-T2. And I was able to, these frogs didn't want to move at all. That's one thing. So I was able to get close. And I was able to get so close that I switched my lens to the 16mm 1.4. with the same settings, and I was able to get a couple of different shots. At first I went safe at f4 here, and I remember later looking at these and being like, wow, f4 looks amazing. What does 1.4 look like? And I did that as well, 1.4, and the 1.4 one is like buttery delicious too. But these were JPEGs that wowed me straight out of camera because of the colors and also the rendering of the lenses. This is amazing. Now, this image was the first time I ever tried the 16mm 1.4. I was on a photo walk and one of the gentlemen on the photo walk had the lens. He's like, you want to try it? And I actually shot his sneakers and I was amazed by its minimum focus distance. And I thought this was its minimum focus distance with people in the background, bokeh. And then it was like, let's see how, I didn't want to, kiss his sneakers, but I kind of did. I was like, how close can you get? And this is, look at the laces here. Like the laces are, you could see all the little stitching and this little hair here. So this is how close you can get with the 16mm 1.4. And I remember it being one of those JPEGs that wowed me. And this was taken with the Fujifilm Xt20. So I realized that I do have JPEGs that are straight out of camera that wowed me, but what I realized more was that I take my JPEGs and you can actually edit your JPEGs. Here's something I'll do in the next video for you. I'll show you how you can, edit your JPEGs just slightly. Instead of tackling the RAWs, there's a couple of things you can do to your JPEGs, and we'll see that in the next video. All right, I'll see you guys next time.